There is a downside to the practice of semen retention. And in this video, I'm going to share what that downside is so you can be prepared for it and you can know how to turn that downside into an upside, if that makes sense. Basically, how to turn that negative into a positive. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Nakula and I help men master their S3X energy so you can become a powerhouse both in and outside the bedroom. Go to the link in the description below and take the free transmutation guide so you can learn how to move through the downside of semen retention. Semen retention is a powerful practice, and the reality is most men don't do very well at it. I know I didn't do very well at it until I learned the practices of alchemy, and that's why I share these practices, and I'm out in the world educating as much as I can about why this practice is so transformational. Now, I know a lot of guys struggled like I did with the practice because of the downside. So what is the downside of semen retention? Is that semen retention will enhance everything in you. And that is often perceived as a downside because what's in you might not be the greatest thing. I'll give you a personal example, okay? I noticed that when I am practicing semen retention for about 7 to 10 days. And that's generally when you get the testosterone boost and when you get a lot of the benefits start kicking in. What I'll notice is whatever is in my unconscious, or I might be conscious of it, but it's kind of like suppressed, will come up. So for example, let's say I have sadness. My sadness will be enhanced through the practice. Let's say I'm angry about something. My anger will be enhanced. My frustration can be enhanced. And that's what a lot of guys come to me and say, man, when I'm practicing retention, I tried it, but I get anxiety, or I get super depressed, or I get mad. I had one guy say, I can't do it. I start punching walls, right? Like he's got a lot of anger in him. Some other guys will experience other things, like they'll get super lusty, right? And they'll just want to bang all day, or it'll drive them back to watching adult videos online or doing whatever it is that they were originally trying to get away from. They're like, man, I just desire it even more, and I've experienced all that. And the reason it is that's the downside. The downside is that semen retention will make you face yourself. That's why, in essence, semen retention is not a practice to picking up women or attracting things into your life. That's a byproduct of semen retention because it gives you certain qualities that make you attractive to women or make you attractive overall. So therefore you can get opportunities and you can influence and your charisma goes up, and all the qualities that make a man you get with this practice. But the essence of the practice is a healing practice. It is a spiritual tool. It is a spiritual technology. And actually, this is why, even some other spiritual practitioners, they criticize me for teaching this openly, because for a long time, these practices were kept secret by monks and mystics. These practices were not for the general public because they knew how powerful it would be. And just like it's like a gun, if you put a gun in the right hand, that gun will protect the property. That gun can be a force for protection and stability. But if you put a gun in the wrong hand, you can get a really dangerous situation. Just like money. You give money to someone who is responsible, who is a good-hearted, someone who is a good steward or conduit for money, then money can be such a positive force. It could create prosperity and opportunities. It can create wealth. It could create abundance for so many people. But money in the wrong hands, someone who's filled with greed, someone who's filled with lust and envy, well, it can be detrimental. You give money to an addict, and what does that addict become? A bigger addict. They just get better drugs. You give money to someone who's clean and knows exactly how they're going to use that money, and what you can get is opportunity and growth. So semen retention in itself is neither a good or bad thing, a right or wrong thing. It is a practice in which spiritual practitioners would use to face themselves and to face their sadness and their lust and their greed and their all the things that they had so that they can overcome it. And that's the upside or the positive side to it. You see, only when things come up to the surface can you deal with it. Most people don't want to deal with their life. They don't want to look in the mirror and actually face who they are because it's tough. Because sometimes you look in the mirror and let's be real, you don't like what you see. Insecurity, depression, sadness, bad choices, regrets, guilt, shame. So much of the world is filled with shame because of things, mistakes and bad decisions and regrets. And because they live with this shame, that we all have some degree of it, and they don't want to deal with it, they turn to drugs and alcohol and they turn to all kinds of stuff, or they just become lonely. They just sit in there by themselves in their, in their house or in their basement, and they cut themselves off from the world, which actually sends them more into their shame and more into their depression. So they have to go to more drugs and more alcohol, and you see the cycle. It's just a downward cycle. Well, so many people are actually in that cycle right now in this world. The men who practice semen retention, and specifically the men who work with me inside my programs, and why I say that is because the first 3 weeks of the alchemy training is all about dealing with your inner crap. Like this morning, I've got sadness in my life. I've got some things that in my life that, really weighs on my heart. And so I was doing the healing sounds this morning right from the practice just to deal with it. Oftentimes people distract themselves. One of the things I've been doing is not distracting myself as much as I can, saying, you know what, I'm going to just sit in silence for a while and I'm going to listen to all the pain that's going on inside of me because I don't want to live with it forever, so I have to deal with it. Meaning you have to actually go into yourself and deal with what is going on if you actually want to move through it, or you can do what most people do is turn to negative behaviors, distractions. Why do you think guys play hours and hours and hours of video games for? Why do you think people watch endless amounts of crap online and TV? Why do you think so many people turn to drugs and alcohol? It's because deep down inside of them, there is some pain, there is some hurt, there is some shame, there is some guilt. There's some negative shit going on in just plain words. That's the downside to it. The downside, it's not really a downside, but it's kind of like the healing process is first painful before it gets better. Think of when you break a leg. Or actually just this weekend, I watched my buddy fight he's an MMA fighter, and we're cheering him on. His next step looks like the UFC, and we're really hoping he gets that opportunity. Why I mentioned that is because we were watching all these fights and I thought, man, all of those guys, all of them, whether they won or lost the fight, we watched a series of fights, they're all going to be in pain the next day. They're all going to be hurting. Because when you're going through it, when you're in the middle of the fight, you might not feel the pain because the adrenaline's going on. I've been in physical fights. I've been punched and not even knew I got punched because there was so much adrenaline running through my system. And when you have that kind of adrenaline, you become superhuman. There's all kinds of, that's why adrenaline is the real drug. If you really want to get high, that's why there's like, what do you call them? Like action junkies and, adventure seekers. And I'm a bit like that myself because once you experience like real adrenaline, you recognize, whoa, like this is power. When the healing process begins and the adrenaline wears off, then you feel the pain. Think about when you if you ever broke a bone, but how much more painful is it the next day and the day after? You get a bruise. You might not even know you got a bruise. Like I have this click in my jaw. I probably can't hear it in the mic. Right now it's not. So it's my jaw is a little bit out of alignment. It's because in a rugby game in high school, I took an elbow to my jaw. I didn't feel it during the game. I'm a small dude, like stature wise, right? And I was easily always the smallest guy. And you know what? In the rugby field, I would be right up in there. I'd be in people's faces. I'd be tackling big guys, blah, blah, blah. I would feel nothing during the game. The next day, oh my goodness. I'm like, I'm sore everywhere. Because healing hurts. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means you have to heal. So semen retention brings up all of that stuff that needs to be healed, and that's the beauty of it. And that's why I always recommend working with someone. And if it's not me, work with somebody that you trust or someone that you can get on board with. Find somebody to help you through that process. I've helped so many men through this process, and it's always difficult at the beginning. But then when they get over the hump, when they get over the withdrawal symptoms, when they get over the initial anger or sadness or anxiety, and then they let the practice work, and then they do the practices, and they do the breathing exercises, and they do the meditations, all of a sudden they start to feel relief, and they start to feel better, and then they start to feel controlled, and then they start to feel powerful, and then they start to experience all the benefits of the practice itself. So the downside of semen retention is that you will have to face yourself. You will have to look at all those pains, those hurts, all of that stuff. And that's why we have forgiveness exercises. There's so many tools we've put in place and continue to add to our school so that you are fully equipped to deal with all of that. And it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Once you rip off the Band-Aid and you get that hurt and that, oh, that really hurt. But then it starts to feel better. And you start to get that relief. And then the upside comes. So you're past the initial pain point. You're past the healing point, and now you're on the recovery. And then from recovery, we get to rejuvenation. And rejuvenation is when it gets exciting, because now you're revitalized and you're full of vitality and you're full of energy, and you're also stronger because you're like, heck, I lived through that pain and I'm all right. And in fact, I'm better for it. What else can I accomplish? What else can I handle? What other challenges are in front of me? And once you solve your own challenges, then the real abundance can happen, because now you can go out and solve challenges that the world is facing, or your family is facing, or community is facing. And if you make your life about helping others, if you make your life about serving others, if you make your life about healing others, then you'll find the true essence and joy in life. So yeah, there's just like everything in life, there's downsides. There's downsides, to every aspect of life. The more money you have, we have more success now than ever before. I also have different sets of problems that I've never dealt with before, So no matter what, life is going to present you challenges. If you want to run from challenge, if you want to run from pain, then just keep doing what you're doing. Keep wanking it to adult content. Keep using the drugs and the alcohol. Keep playing hours of video games. And just do what you're doing. You don't need me for that. You already know how to do that. Most of the world knows how to do that. They're quite expert in it. But if you want to be the rare, if you want to be the diamond in the rough, if you want to be, the piece of gold that is sifted out of the dirt and the rocks, if you want to be that guy, then make sure you reach out and connect with me. Let's book a call. Let's see if my programs or my style is a right fit for you. It may or may not be. We never know until you jump on a call with me and we learn and we see. But if you are a right fit and you are ready for that, and you want to go down this journey, and you're ready to deal with yourself, and you're ready to take responsibility for who you are and for the results of your life, and you don't want to play victim anymore, and you don't want to blame your mommy and your daddy, and you want to blame society and the government and all that stuff. You don't want to do that anymore. You're real. Now you want to get real transformation in your life. Now you want to be a real man. Then make sure you book a call with me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the video or hit the bell button. Leave comments below. It really helps us with the algorithm and gets it out there to more people. This message is so important for the world right now and the turbulent times that we're going through. And we need everybody's help. Everybody can contribute to a better planet and a better world. But you also have to deal with your own shit. It starts with you. It's your world gets better as you get better. That's it. Nothing changes in your life. I can get better. My life will continue to improve. I promise you. Not because I'm cocky or saying this in a way. I'm telling you, my life will always get better because I've decided in my life, no matter what happens, I will make sure that my life continues to improve and I continue to grow as a person. So it doesn't matter what happens or what has happened to me. I will be okay. Now you have to make that same decision for yourself. Will you be okay? Thanks so much. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the call, and I'll see you on the next video.